As the days on the calendar continue to go day by day by day, people waiting to see the rules that Illinois State Police are set to file to the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules concerning the gun and magazine ban registry. Welcome into it, Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. And, of course, we can always open it up for your phone calls at 217-629-7970. Again, 217-629-7970. That's the phone number. Would love to hear your thoughts on all of this. But, of course, January 10th of this year was when Governor J.B. Pritzker enacted the state's ban on certain semi-automatic firearms and magazines. And it also included a registry that's set to open up October 1st. Check the calendar, less than a month away. And a deadline by January 1st of 2024 in order to register said firearms if they were owned by you, the individual, prior to January 10th of 2023. So that means if you have a semi-automatic rifle like an AR-15, if you have a handgun that takes a magazine of more than 15 rounds, that's a semi-automatic firearm that's labeled by the state as an assault weapon and must be registered with a sworn affidavit to Illinois State Police of the firearms you possess and attachments. That's a key thing here. What are those attachments going to be that have to be registered? So questions still about whether or not, you have to register, all of the different parts and whatnot. But January 1st, if you don't register by then criminal penalties could apply. So we'll get to what the gun rights advocates have to say about this with Todd Vandermyde. I chatted with him yesterday, former contract lobbyist for the NRA. He's also working with the federal firearms licensees of Illinois to essentially set up and prepare for the ongoing litigation that's happening in the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. But that's challenging the law on the basis that it violates the Second Amendment. We have separate challenges down in the Southern District on vagueness. Thomas Magg, the attorney, he's challenging that, and that's going to be heard October 11th. And then you have, if that doesn't work, the Fifth Amendment arguments could come forward, targeting the actual registry as a violation of an individual's right to not incriminate themselves. So here's Todd Vandermyde talking about the registry and some of the concerns that he's hearing out there from firearms owners as to all of the unanswered questions there are.
Well, there are a bunch of people who are getting very nervous about the state compiling all this information. The thing to know is that they're not going to close registration for any of the restricted or regulated firearms doesn't close until December 31st. So there should be no rush to run right in and do this. However, we're waiting to see the rules that they are going to publish that's going to govern this. And from what I'm hearing within state police, we probably aren't going to like some of the things that they put in there, and they're going to more than likely double down on stupid once again.
So Vandermyde talking about how gun owners are waiting to see these rules for the gun registration, and I reached out to Illinois State Police. They said that ISP is working with the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules and the Secretary of State to file emergency and first notice of proposed rule. They went on to say that ISP intends to meet the October 1st deadline for that emergency rule. But as I was talking with Todd Vandermyde yesterday, questions about parts and attachments, are those also going to have to be registered alongside of semi-automatic firearms that individuals possess?
Yeah, we're going to have to see if they clarify any definition of attachments beyond what the statute says. And how are you supposed to, do things? Because, we've maintained that our lawsuit, you have the right to repair. We have the right to acquire parts to keep our firearms in good working order. But the state seems to have a different view of that. And, if you've got hundreds, if not thousands of parts like some people do, now what? I mean, every spring, you're going to have to inventory. I have 10 hammers, 25 dust covers, 1,000 detent springs. who knows what. I mean, and how do you differentiate between a roll pin for an AR-15 bought at a gun shop and a roll pin bought from Home Depot that'll do the same thing?
So obviously the questions about what parts will have to be registered, will there have to be a separate affidavit for each individual part, separate from, an affidavit about the firearm, or is it going to be one affidavit with an inventory of sorts? Of course, less than a month before that portal opens with the Illinois State Police, so unclear as to what exactly that's going to ultimately look like. But what about the compliance rates? We've seen elsewhere where there might be registries for firearms, and there's not a really great compliance rate. You're talking 5% in some cases, maybe heading towards 10% in other cases. Either way, that is abysmal as to the estimated compliance rates in other areas where there are these types of registrations. In Illinois, what is the compliance rates possibly going to look like? Todd Vandermyde, again, sounds off on that.
Some guys have jokingly said, well, if I've got 1,000 parts, I'll make 1,000 declarations. Well, that would probably look funny because they would try to manipulate it to boost their compliance rate. Oh, look, we got this many. I mean, but I think they may be underwhelmed because, if you've got 2.5 million FOID card holders in this state, and then you have, let's say that, 10% of them have one, that's 250,000 guns. And, I think you're going to see a lot more than that. I mean, look at the trends in firearm purchases and everything. There will be a lot more people that would qualify. But from what I'm hearing out at the ranges and stuff, there are a lot of people who just aren't going to register anything. They're not going to comply with this. They're going to flip the middle finger to JB and the state police.
So obviously still a lot of unanswered questions and some sentiments out there. We're already seeing on social media people saying do not comply. If you don't comply, though, and you're found to have a firearm, that could lead to first offense, a Class A misdemeanor. Second offense, a Class 3 felony. Not sure if first offense would be the first firearm, and then the second offense could be that second firearm that you didn't register. But obviously there's some big overarching questions on all of this. And coming up next, we'll hear more from Todd about the process here. Right? Illinois State Police filing a rule October 1st. It's got to go in front of JCAR. Well, what about JCAR? Is that another avenue that Illinois residents can raise issues with this and provide a check and a balance of sorts? So stay tuned. We'll get to that next year with Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. Back hearing some comments from Todd Vandermyde, gun rights advocate. You can find him on YouTube as Freedom's Steel. He's not just a longtime gun rights advocate. He's also consulting with the federal firearms licensees of Illinois in their ongoing litigation against the gun and magazine ban. But we are chatting about the issue of the gun registry that's set to open up October 1st, with the deadline by January 1st to register or face criminal penalties if you're found with a banned firearm and not having had registered it. But one thing that's also in the law, as I've interpreted it, is that aside from just creating the rules for the registry, Illinois State Police are also, every year, to update the list of firearms that need to be registered. And this is through rulemaking. So Vandermyde reacting to that, and if that's going to go off without a hitch.
They're supposed to, and we're hearing that they may be even playing games with that. Like I said, until I get a definitive look at the rule that they have supposedly filed with the Secretary of State's office, they're supposed to publish a list. And they may be kind of slacking on that, and we'll see how it goes. But, they think they only have to comply with certain parts of the law from what I'm hearing. We'll wait and see what it all looks like.
So when are those rules going to be filed? As I said, the Illinois State Police did get back to me with a comment saying that they plan on filing and meeting that October 1st deadline. There'll be emergency rules, so they'll go into effect immediately. It's when we expect the portal to open up, and it'll be available for people to register. But obviously, you've got these rules that need to be filed, and they go somewhere, right? Well, they go to this body called the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules. It's a bipartisan group, and it's obviously on the radar for a lot of people as a different avenue, a different governmental body that could provide some kind of check here. Again, Vandermyde reacting to JCAR being the one fielding these rules once they're filed.
Well, JCAR is going to, it's an emergency rule. Obviously, it'll go to JCAR, and I'm not sure when. I think they've got a meeting coming up here quickly. And it's, as soon as we see the published rule and analyze it, it's going to need, gun owners to start calling their legislators, especially those on the JCAR committee, and light them up with phone calls, emails, or whatever to express their displeasure if the state police are once again going to color outside the lines. I mean, we had this fight with gun dealer licensing. We had this fight over the concealed carry rules. They have some anti-gunners buried within the state police that just think that, they can do whatever they want. So JCAR will have a lot to say about this, and once we see that rule, it will certainly tell us how far afield they went.
So JCAR's next meeting is actually September 12th. So just in 6 days, they're set to meet. They meet every month. But I looked at the agenda for their September 12th meeting. There isn't anything about these rules on that agenda. So they may not take this up at that September 12th meeting because the rules haven't been filed yet. State police saying that they're confident they'll hit that deadline of October 1st. So it would be the October JCAR hearing where they may take these rules up. But JCAR could be where that check and balance, another one outside of the courts, another check and balance where Illinois residents could possibly have their voice heard.
Right. Yeah, I think they are. I think JCAR is another venue for us to use within the legislative world to have them exercise some oversight over the state police.
And Vandermyde also talks about the makeup of JCAR. It is a bipartisan group of state legislators, meaning it's equal parts Democrat, equal parts Republican. And they don't necessarily approve rules, but they can block rules. And Vandermyde talking about the makeup and what it would need to take to block a rule.
Well, you need 8 to stop a rule, 8 out of 12, a supermajority. There are 6 Republicans, 6 Democrats, 3 from each caucus. So on that, it's going to be interesting to see what it looks like. Whether or not, depending on how they write these rules, but some early indications that we've heard about, some people are going to get kind of spooled up if what I'm being told comes true.
So we'll see. Todd obviously has different sources that are more knowledgeable on these things, so it's good to tap into his understanding of what's about to transpire here with these rules that Illinois State Police are set to file to the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules by October 1st for that gun and magazine registry. I don't know if magazines are going to have to be registered. I don't know if parts are going to have to be registered. I don't know what the affidavit's going to look like. All of this is going to be spelled out in the rules that are filed. But obviously, all of this is still up in the air with the ongoing litigation against the gun and magazine ban in the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, a ruling still pending on that Second Amendment challenge, a vagueness challenge down in the Southern District of Illinois, still a possible Fifth Amendment challenge floating around. But obviously, the calendar is starting to get closer to the end of the year when it'll be required that an individual sign a sworn affidavit with Illinois State Police proclaiming that they own a certain weapon, firearm, that was banned by legislators. So the question of, does this violate the individual's right against self-incrimination? I guess that's an argument that still is yet to be thoroughly made in the courts, and we'll see where exactly that ends up going. So that's just some of the latest, delving deeper into the firearms registry. If the law is upheld by the courts, then it opens up October 1st, and deadline is January 1st to file or face criminal penalties. All right, follow me anywhere, Bishop on Air, on X, formerly known as Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Just search out Bishop on Air, and you can also email me, bishoponair@gmail.com. Again, bishoponair at gmail.com.